Hi, this is Crazy Monkey here again, just walking through the forest and the hiking trails above Ogden, Utah, and just want to do another blog update real quick. The leaves are changing colors, so it's really pretty out. It's really absolutely beautiful out with all the leaves changing yellows and oranges. It's really nice. I'll just show you real quick the view. And this blog update is going to talk about socialism and how they're the global elites, the filthy rich elites, the billionaire elites, the corporations, the universities, mainstream media, the leftist socialist parties worldwide, college student, social justice warrior activists. These people are pushing for basically a globalist, socialist, corporatist system, knowingly and unknowingly. Some of them are doing it knowingly, some are doing it unknowingly. You got a lot of people at the universities. They just support the liberal system because they think it's nice and fair and just, and that's why they support it. And in reality, I'm going to show you how the entire system is to turn the entire world third world. It's to turn us third world, create massive poverty at the bottom, and then create a filthy rich socialist overlord ruling class at the top. That's the system. And so basically how it works is you look at globalism, socialism, corporatism, and the system's more advanced in certain areas than it is in others. So for example, when you go to Canada, globalist, socialist, corporatist system is very advanced in Canada. I'll explain that in just a minute. Here in America, it's way less advanced. All right. In Europe, parts of Europe, Western Europe, it's very advanced. So that's basically real quick. Now let me just explain what I mean by, in America, the globalist, corporatist, socialist system is not that advanced, whereas in Canada it's extremely advanced. You go to Canada, you have a high tax country. In Canada, you have high taxes. You have massive immigration. Canada's immigration is completely out of control. It makes America look conservative. And in Canada, you have filthy rich foreign elites just buying up massive amounts of their housing stock. So you go into cities like Toronto and Vancouver, and house prices are like $1 million, $2 million on an entry-level house because they've allowed filthy rich foreign elites just to buy up just massive amounts of their housing stock, making it virtually impossible for a Canadian citizen to buy a house unless they're like filthy rich. And that is the globalist, liberalist, socialist system. That is their system. They make the house prices astronomical because once the house prices are astronomical, the working class and the poor people that can't afford houses, they become radicalized and they become leftist and socialist because they can't afford a house, and then they want affordable housing, which basically means rent control and all these different socialist government programs. And then the socialist politicians, they promote that rent control. They promote all these government housing programs. And then those poor people are basically turned into a massive voting bloc, voting for those leftist politicians to try to get their, affordable housing unit or their rent control, their Section 8. And, if you look at the cities worldwide that are the most left-wing in the West, they're the cities with the astronomical housing cost. London, very leftist city. They just elected like a socialist Muslim mayor. And that city has astronomical housing costs, astronomical rents because of massive immigration into London and massive foreign investors, filthy rich foreign investors just buying up so many houses in London. That makes the prices astronomical. All right. So that's one example. Another example is Vancouver, another radical leftist city. And again, the same thing. It's filthy rich foreign elites buying up the houses, making house prices go sky high. Locals can't afford houses, and then they become more and more left-wing. They vote for more and more leftist politicians because the leftist politicians say, we'll build more affordable housing, which is government housing, which means taxpayers will pay for it. Or they'll support rent control, which basically will make rents skyrocket on the new people. So both of those programs basically are terrible. They're basically both terrible, horrible programs that in the long run make house prices even higher and higher and higher, especially rent control. That makes house prices go higher and higher and higher. And then the other program, the other one, and the reason why rent control makes house prices go higher and it makes rents go higher is because it limits new supply. When you do rent control, builders are less likely to build new units. There's just less stuff being built with rent control. Landlords are less likely to renovate the units. And then because of supply and demand, what winds up happening is the prices go up. You look at the cities with rent control, they have astronomical rents. Manhattan has rent control. San Francisco has rent control. And the prices of apartments are sky high. And rent control makes the prices higher. I mean, that's the reality. Even like mainstream economists admit that rent control makes the rents higher on the new people, and rent control makes housing costs higher. It makes housing costs go up. And that's what the liberal leftist politicians support. Because again, their system is to create as much misery as possible, to create as much votes as possible. They create the misery to get the votes. That's what it's all about. The liberal leftist politicians create the misery to get the votes. And, I'll just give you 3 examples real quick. All right, rent control is one example. A second example is mass immigration. They say mass immigration will help immigrants that are dirt poor in their third world countries come to the West, and then they'll get middle class. So they make it sound like it's about economic equality, when in reality, mass immigration actually turns the entire planet third world. It actually creates more poverty, it creates more misery. So again, it does the exact opposite of what they say. Let me think of another example. Another example would be the whole welfare state, which lowers wages, and it basically makes people poor, keeping people stuck in poverty longer and longer. They say, oh, welfare is about helping people, it's about increasing income equality, but in reality, no, it does the exact opposite. It makes income inequality go up, because the people on the welfare programs, they stay poor, and they don't get ahead, they don't buy houses, they don't build equity, so they stay poor. And then it also lowers wages, because the people on welfare, they can work for less money, so it has a wage lowering effect. Different welfare programs, especially like the Earned Income Tax Credit welfare program, that is a known program to cause wages to go down. And they even admit that. Mainstream economists admit that the Earned Income Tax Credit welfare program makes wages go down. Well, of course it does. All the welfare programs are designed to make wages go down, and to make poverty go up, and to keep people poor, and to keep people in poverty. That's what they're designed to do. So you look at the liberals, everything they say, the opposite is the result. They talk about wealth equality, but then look at San Francisco. It is the highest wealth inequality because of all the programs that the liberals have done. I mean, the liberals control San Francisco. There's no conservative Republican in San Francisco elected in government. It's just all liberals and leftists and socialist types in San Francisco. And look at that city. I mean, it's a city where you got to be rich to live there, or you're homeless in the streets. I mean, it's complete wealth inequality. You look at all the socialist systems, whether it's Venezuela or North Korea, and you have a ruling class that have all the money. They're like billionaires, they're like filthy rich. And then everybody else is like equalized in poverty and misery. And then they just completely eliminate the middle class. That's what they do. They gut the middle class, they eliminate the middle class, and they create 2 classes. One, the socialist elites at the top that have all the money and all the power, and then just a massive slave labor underclass of poor people that are basically kept in poverty, and they're kept in equalized misery and equalized poverty. That's really what the socialist system is. And so I just want to say that blog update real quick. Thank you.